Joining me on Startup Report is Michael Scott Novilla. Welcome, sir.
Hello, hello.
So we got a few interesting things we can dig into in the entrepreneurial world. I'm going to save the most exciting one in my book for second. But you've been running, and you started and have been running Nova 535, which is one of the best pure event spaces in St. Pete for a number of years now. How did you end up in that business? And then we're going to get some entrepreneurial wisdom out of your head.
Thank you, Joe. I had been doing apartment purchasing, renovating, and leasing out for about 10 years. And I always had the love of travel, the wanderlust. And so in my travels, love art galleries, found a lot of really amazing and beautiful inspiration, walking through the Tate and the Hermitage and so on. And so I love art and painting and illustration. And then equally, I love going to a really swanky lounge, cool bar, rooftop, that type of thing. So doing apartments and leasing apartments for so long, it gets really boring. It's the same thing over and over. You paint it, you fix it up, and then you rent it out, wash and rinse and repeat. So I had the crazy idea of taking art gallery and lounge and mixing it with an event space. So that was the idea of Art Lounge.
And the space itself is so unique. It has a cool outdoor space. It has a big, tall, almost warehousey kind of indoor space. Was the space that when you got it, or did you?
No, it was a dog kennel. It was in, here's a bad pun, rough shape.
That is bad.
Yeah. It was called, as I said, Pet Planet. And outside was dirt and a homeless guy. Inside was 80 years or so of bad decisions, bad interior design decisions. But originally, I had gotten good over, at that point, maybe 15 years of renovating old houses and apartments and office buildings from the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s and 60s. I got good at identifying good bones and a good vibe and good structure. So in this case, we took a originally built 1925 and dime store, and it was called Slap Happies. So it had a cool, fun name. We decided to rip all the bad decisions out, the plaster that's on the original clay block walls, the first drop ceiling, and then we found a second drop ceiling, and then we found the original ceiling, and we ripped out the lath and plaster back to the original hand-cut roof trusses. And so, ultimately it was a 3-year, $3 million complete renovation from dog kennel into a pure 5-star, wedding and event venue.
In the apartment, that was an entrepreneurial endeavor as well?
Yes.
So entrepreneur through and through?
Yes.
That's the only way it can be?
Yeah. I'm unique, as a lot of entrepreneurs are, and I'm born April 1st. So as a youngster, I was labeled hyperactive. Everything moves slowly to me. And so as an entrepreneur, you see a problem and you want to fix it. You don't want to wait a day, a week, a month, a year for somebody else to do it. You just kind of jump in and do it. And certainly over the, I'm 51 now. So over the last 40 years, I started working when I was 11. I've learned some patience and how to build a team and put together the right people. But I love solving problems. So yeah, true entrepreneur for sure.
So you rolled into Nova with a vision.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side of the vision, once you got it, the place to the physical environment to satisfy what was your vision, then you're into the day-to-day of selling weddings and executing on that. How has that been in relation to the vision?
Well, it's funny. So 6 months into running an art lounge, and we built a beautiful at the time, 2007. We opened in 2008. So in 2007, we started building and designing a beautiful neon flashing sign that would art lounge. And about 6 months into it, my best friend, Drew Edwards, he kept pounding on my brain, dude, nobody knows what an art lounge is. Get out of your kumbaya, help the community, mindset, which is great, but you have to survive as a business. So you're an event space. So we made the switch because nobody knew what the hell an art lounge was. And we made the hard switch to event space. So we are a pure event space.
Got it. And how did that initial partnership form? Did you have a partner in the apartment business?
No, just me. No.
And then you took a partner for Nova?
No partners.
No partners.
No, just mentors and lenders.
Got it.
So I had my own money that I put in and then, borrowed money to buy and renovate Nova.
And then you mentioned in the Kumbaya section of the retrospect there that you're looking to help the community, and that was a part of your DNA as well.
Sure.
I'm assuming that sort of is the seed for Entrepreneur Social Club.
Correct. Mentoring, you see a lot of people, like when I got started, my mom and dad are amazing people. My dad passed and mentored me in a lot of ways, and he was fantastic. Like all parents can teach you something, but everybody doesn't know everything. So you're going to miss some things. So there was a lot of things on the business side. My dad was a pharmacist who put himself through law school here at Stetson and did a lot of pro bono work, was loved by everybody and made good money, but was never really a business guy. Though he was business savvy, he didn't do that type of thinking. And so there's things that I missed that I like to now show kids, for the lack of a better word, people who are starting up in their 20s and 30s. When they're starting their first business, they will miss something. And if you can teach them that one or two little tiny things, like getting the name of their business named correctly first, so people understand, what are you selling? What are you actually providing? So if you can give them these bits of wisdom in the beginning, before they go off and spend their time and their money and their energy in the wrong direction, sometimes those little nudges can make a big difference. And, as I always say, if that person's better off, everybody around them is better off. So you're kind of helping everybody by default.
And so just to circle back on, so Entrepreneurs Social Club meets every Thursday.
Every Thursday night.
At Nova. It's been running for years.
10 years now.
And the big table is set up. You can purchase some beers. It starts at 6 and they actually get rolling right around 7. And then everybody goes to dinner about 8. Is that the?
That's close. It's 6 to 6:30 is the, schmoozy, networky time. You go around the bar, grab a drink. And then we sit down usually around 6:30 or so for about an hour and a half till 8 o'clock. And it's a round table, very casual, but, I run it. The rules are no religion, no politics, no liars, no bullies, no thieves, and no racists. We pass our cards around. We review business cards and websites. We also help you with how you're in your own way. People give a lot of advice. We have a lot of jokes. So it's a lot of fun. It's a pure social club. So it's always fun. And it's also a pure business club. You learn a lot and you grow every single time. So we provide a lot of value and a lot of laughs. And then around 8:30, we take off for dinner, drinks, and it gets crazy. I mean, it's a pure social club. So you might be out late.
And there is an Entrepreneur Social Club bail fund, right?
There have been some, we could talk about it offline, but there has been some moments where, stuff's gone sideways. So, but we're all adults. It's 18 up. So you got to be an adult and you're in charge of your own mouth.
With these, sort of hundreds of hours of, entrepreneur conversation and seeing them come through the doors, I guess we'll start with, what are some of the patterns of mistakes that you see the new folks making over and over again? You mentioned the naming. What else?
Well, really, it's if you're serious about doing a business, you have to make money, okay? Because that's the only way the system works right now. So you have to sell a good or service, okay? Honestly, it's if you be a good student is probably the foundation of the whole thing. You don't know it all. None of us know it all. But there's ways that people have done things for decades, centuries, eons that work, okay? And most of what we're doing, you're not reinventing the wheel here. You're providing a good or service. They've been doing it for thousands of years. So if you really want to be successful, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So there's the old saying, listen twice as much as you talk, right? And find the people who are doing whatever you do successfully now. Be nice to them. Buy them dinner, buy them a drink. Listen, look at their website. Listen to what they have to say. You can put your own slant on something, but at the end of the day, again, you're not reinventing the wheel. Even if you have something high tech, ultimately that high tech is just providing a good or service for somebody that's been done and done and done. So be a good student really is kind of the core part of it. And then secondly, it's continuous improvement. You got to love it, hopefully. Otherwise, you're in the wrong business. So you should love what you're doing, become really good at it, and just keep improving, keep improving, keep improving. And eventually you'll become your own, master, guru, whatever the word is, at this good or service. And people will buy from you.
Kaizen, isn't that the word, the Japanese word for continuous improvement? That's a big philosophy the car companies use there.
Sounds good.
It is. Trust me, I'm a doctor.
I do. Right. But we're not doing the exam, so.
And what are some examples of people that have taken you by surprise by how right they're doing things that you thought if you could spread that info out, it would be useful?
Well, maybe not by surprise, but I think of Corey Van Valen. He's a young, use the word kid, but he's in his 20s. And he's a magician, and he does a lot of card and up close magic, he calls it. And he is non-stop. He came into the club, he listened, he adapted his what was a originally not so good business card and not so good promotion and not so good, website and his pitch. And he polished and he listened and he improved. And now he's playing in Vegas and New York, and he's all over the place. He's fantastic. So he effectively listened to the good advice that we give, and he worked it, and he's fantastic now. And I can't even hire him because he's so busy. He's in Vegas and, New York and all over the world now. I try to get him to come and do my parties at Nova, and he's usually booked, which is fantastic. It makes me happy that, he followed the good advice.
And I'd love to hear your thoughts. You're born and raised here.
Born and raised, yep.
And you run a networking event and you live authentically. So how do you marry authenticity, network, burning bridges, not burning bridges? What's your advice or what's your wisdom on that?
Well, we kind of had a discussion today. It was online, offline. And, if somebody gives you advice, or if they give you feedback, or if they write a review, it's either true or it's not true. So if it's true, then you need to be thankful for that piece of information and react that, wow, okay, I'm sorry, we screwed up and we're going to fix it. If it's not true, then you have to decide whether, having a conversation with that person or source is worth your time. If it's not true and it's a libel case or something where people are slandering you, then you need to fight against that, tooth and nail. But a lot of times, you can have an argument with an idiot and you're just wasting your own breath. So if the feedback or information is true that you get, then you thank them and you learn and grow. And if it's not, then it's up to you and your own brain power to decide whether it's worth, trying to change somebody's mind.
And you mentioned travel earlier. And, one of the things that you've done that many, many people dream of is you took a pretty massive trip, which I want to dig into, but you actually ran your business while you were on that massive trip. So give us the overview of the trip, and then we'll dig into how you ran your business.
Sure. Well, I go to every year that I can, the CES, the Consumer Electronics Show out in Vegas in third part of January every year, effectively because it's like 200,000 people, the massive and tiny companies in the tech space all come to show off all their wares and products and goods and all that. And so really it's a chance to see the future. So I like that. I'm a sci-fi guy at heart. I love future stuff and technology. And so I decided, I love traveling. I travel as much as I can every year. So I decided to go from Las Vegas and there was a lot of Asia, aside from Japan, and a little bit into China that I had not seen. So I did to Hawaii, then to Taiwan, and then to Hong Kong, and then out into pretty much all of Southeast Asia. Backing up, Tim Ferriss wrote a book called The 4-Hour Workweek. And whether you take it literally or not, the idea of it is that you can offload a lot of stuff. You can automate a lot of things. And like now, I'm sitting here in your, fantastic studio, but I don't physically have to be here, right? I can physically be anywhere in the world because we have the technology to do this interview. I have the technology to type on my laptop and to work. So a lot of it is just the mindset of you don't really need to be there. It doesn't matter where your ass is. It matters where your focus is. So you can move around anywhere in the world and do your job because most people are sitting in a desk, on a desk in their chair, the other way around, and typing into a computer, right? So you can do that anywhere. So really it's just a mindset. Of course, it's easier for me because I got rid of my car in '08 and I don't have a wife and kids. So there's just me by myself and I can go and work anywhere I want.
I paid a lot for the studio and I'd prefer if you were here.
Yeah, thank you. It is nice here. I like it. I just learned a lot about camera equipment. Thank you.
So you had some event management software. You're actually able to schedule your bartender, schedule your staff.
Mm-hmm.
What were the things that were the most challenging to do remotely?
Nothing is more challenging remotely. It's the fact that we have a system and, Chris Jenkins and Nick Mazika were both instrumental in building, what we call the Nova Way system. But you have a system and then the system's filled with roles. So you have a role of a venue manager or a bartender or a tech or a security or DJ or whatever. And then you have the event. And so we digitized and automated almost everything we could. So that way the prospect and then into the customer is filling out the information They have the information on their phone. It's all paperless. It's digital. They make the payments on their phone or device. So we removed a lot of the paper part of it and automated as much as we could. And so really, ultimately, the challenge with any business owner is the human doing their job. And if they don't do 100% of their job, imagine you have an orchestra and there's 20 people in the orchestra. Well, if one person's playing the flute and they're doing a 60% job, the flute's off and the show is, ruined, so to speak. We do live events. There's no do-over. So when we're in the middle of a wedding or a big corporate party, you don't get to go like, hey, everybody, hold on a minute. We got to redo this again. It's like, no, it's live. There's no do-over. You can't screw up somebody's wedding. So it's getting the right humans to do their job properly inside of their role, which is inside of our system. So that's the most challenging part is that person doing what they're supposed to be doing? So really, it doesn't matter as much. But of course, when dad's away, the mice will play. There's a little bit of slacking that goes on. Certainly like my Novaween party, I wasn't there. So it suffered some because, I'm a little wild and crazy and I have a lot of friends and we like to hang out and get silly. So I am a April Fool and that's my job, make people laugh. So there is that part that diminishes when, as I say, dad, I'm not a dad, but you know what I mean, is not physically there.
Wonderful. Final question. What is the proper content to hashtag ratio in a post? And people who follow you on Facebook will get that. I hope they'll find that as amusing as I do. So for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, I think you had a couple times, you went for a stretch there. I don't know if you're bored of posting, but we would get about 12 words and then 37 hashtags. And I got to call you out on it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, so Jenkins would too. So what I try to do now is I try to write a post where it is a paragraph explaining something like, this thing's happening, da, da, da. And then the words make sense in there, but they happen to be hashtagged. But yeah, some people like the hashtag more. I think I was the first person that I was aware of when hashtagging first came out. I hashtagged a hashtag. So I do have record of that.
Is that just two actual hashtag icons or a hashtag and the word hashtag?
No, just two actual hashtags. So all right. I broke the internet.
Infinite loop.
All right, we've been on some infinite loops. Just ask Alice.
How many years out are we for a 12-step program for hashtags?
Not that far. If you watch the TV show Black Mirror, they have some really good stuff. Have you seen it?
I've seen a couple episodes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm
going to give one more plug for Entrepreneur Social Club. When I was first cutting my teeth in business here, I had a blast. I learned, and it's a good group. There's many people that have been there a long time. They all care about St. Pete. They all care about making each other better. It's Thursdays at Nova, and I think I'm going to come tomorrow.
Thank you, Joe. We have a lot of, there's kind of what Jenkins is calling a second level of, really smart people in their 30s that are, in fact, I'll name a few of them offline so you can invite them in, but just really, really sharp, I hate the word kids, but, that next level of people and entrepreneurs that just, amaze, like when you have a child, like, how much smarter your kid is than you are, which is what you want. You want the next generation to be, for me, I'm grateful for the next generation. Uber and Airbnb, traveling, how much easier that has made it. So we have a lot of those new bright sparks coming into the Entrepreneur Social Club. And I'm very grateful for that.
Hashtag, I make the kids smarter.
Hashtag.
All right. Thank you, sir. Good to catch up.
Thank you.